But I think our reluctance, and I even tell people when I'm doing it, it's like, I don't want to upsell you here, but if you want to do X, Y, Z, we can do that. Just whatever you want. And that works very well. I have seen a $400 tour go to 2 grand and a phone call just because they're like, you know what? I think we could benefit. Let's take the whole roof of a honky tonk. And you're just like, all right, you want it, you got it. Let me make a phone call. And then I send that invoice over and it just blows my mind.
I've interviewed local tour guides before because it can be a great side hustle doing something you love. But today's guest, Paul Whitten, has taken it to a whole new level. Paul wasn't satisfied with just running tours on his own, alongside his full-time corporate Amazon job. He had a much bigger vision. And in less than 3 years, he shares that he's gone from 0 to multiple 6 figures. How did he do it? That's what I wanted to know. And I thought you might too. And yes, his ability to upsell is definitely part of the story. He started with just $3,600 and a ton of enthusiasm for the business. And you will hear that passion come through. Paul walks us through turning simple walking tours into a high-margin business, from landing his first customers with no marketing budget to driving consistent bookings through TripAdvisor and Google reviews and scaling into private and corporate events. If you've been treating your side hustle like just a little extra, Paul's example is your invitation to think bigger about your offerings, your strategy, your vision, and what's actually possible when you lean into your strengths and dream big. I'm Joan, and this is Side Hustle Hero. Well, welcome, Paul.
Oh, it's so good to be here, Miss Joan. Thank you for having me.
Well, it sounds like you've built a little empire in Nashville adventures. Give us the Cole's Notes overview on the business. What are the revenues? How long ago did you start it? Number of employees? Over to you.
You got it. Nashville Adventures is a tour operator, focuses on ghost tours, pub crawls, history tours, private events, corporate events. We do everything from coffee crawls to Civil War private tours and everywhere in between. I started this thing with $3,600 and we've hit about 700, about 600 with hopefully we'll break 1 million this year. I started this about 2.5 years ago.
Whoa. You've grown this to 600, 700,000 in gross revenue in 2.5 years?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll dig into that a little bit. Sorry to interrupt. Just want to make sure I heard you right. Okay.
Yeah, it's a pretty good number, ain't it?
Yeah.
I started this thing in September 2023. I did my first tour in November of 2023 on my birthday. That way, if we failed, we still had a reason to celebrate that day. And I quit my real big boy job in February 2024. Wow. And that's when I started doing this full time.
What were you doing for your big boy job?
I worked at Amazon. I was in corporate Amazon. I'm a corporate Amazon survivor. If anyone who's ever worked for Amazon know what that like. Yeah, I started over in New York City. COVID was beginning to emerge, and there was a max exodus out of everyone in the corporate Amazonian sphere.
Right.
And it was either Seattle or Nashville, which were the two locations of their headquarters at the time.
Okay.
And I knew I was not going to be God Emperor CEO of Amazon. That was not in the cards for me. So I chose Nashville because it ain't got no state income tax. And I was like sold on that one. And when I got here, I fell in love with the history, the state, the entrepreneurial spirit that exists here. And Nashville Ventures was born partly out of that.
Well, that's really interesting, Paul, because oftentimes when I think of a local tour guide, I think of somebody that was born and raised there, have generations of family there, but you didn't. You're just an arrival. How did you ever trip on the idea of doing this then, other than wanting to give yourself something for your birthday?
Oh, great question. So every job I've had leading up to Amazon was a learning lesson for me and a push to make this company. But specifically, if you have the one moment, when I was back about 15 pounds ago, when I was in the Army, I got hurt on a deployment and I was able to go get all these nasty surgeries over at Fort Knox in Kentucky. And when I was going through physical therapy in the morning, I was just bored out of my mind in the evening. All my friends were still in Afghanistan, so I was in like a weird headspace to begin with that. Yeah. And I started giving tours at the Patton Museum at Fort Knox, and I just loved it. And I did. It was just to keep me sane.
Yeah,
I must have been 23 at the time. I ain't gonna lie to you, Miss Joan. I was a baby. And everything I've done afterwards, in whether that be the learnings of great leadership or what you learn and you learn more from bad leadership, everything I've done increased the likelihood of me efficiently launching Nashville Adventures well. And everything I've done from the Army to the Peace Corps to the Parliament, everywhere in between has led to that. But that was my one moment. And no matter where I was in another job, especially with Amazon, because Amazon's tough living. And I did 4 years of that, which is like, doggy years. I know a lot of you. But I looked back on what was the most fun I ever had working. And it was giving tours at the Patton Museum, talking about General Patton's pearl-handed revolver in Fort Knox, Kentucky. So there you go.
Well, at what point did you start thinking about not wanting to be an employee, whether that's Amazon or somewhere else, and actually starting your own side hustle and growing it?
Oh, great question. There was the belief that I could. And also the great thing about being in a very challenging job that I didn't like is I really wanted to do something that I wanted to do. And I think there's an epidemic of unsatisfied employees who are just not happy. And I push this on people. You're sometimes have to live that life. That's reality. You can't just drop away and escape, especially if you got family, kids. So you just got to live there. But if you don't have a 5-year plan and you're not executing towards it, that becomes your failure, not that company's. Amazon has, at least in my time, in my department, had an average tenure of 1.9 years.
That's it, huh?
I doubled that. Oh, yeah. What you hear about what was called the FANG companies. I don't think that term is used anymore. But the old FANG company terminology, Facebook, Alphabet, Amazon, Netflix, Google, the old FANG terminology there is they'll work you. And I realized that I wanted to do something I wanted to do the rest of my life. And I love free things. I love history. I love speaking with people. And this is a business podcast. I'm allowed to say it. I like making money.
Right.
So when you have those three circles, the bullseye of that thing in the center, that's Nashville Adventures.
Well, you mentioned that Amazon really liked working you. How did you find time for a side hustle then? How did you fit that in?
Great question. It was only because of COVID. Before
okay.
COVID, I was traveling be honest with you, sometimes 3 weeks out of the month.
Okay.
And it got to the point that I knew all these site managers across America. I worked in project management, specifically in automation. So I was a traveling machine. COVID really restricted the degree of travel one did for obvious reasons.
Sure.
So I was sitting my tail down in Nashville a lot more than I was previously. And that got me really thinking, I could do this on Saturdays. I got nothing else to do.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm going to concerts or anything.
Yeah.
And you're outside, like and Nashville was completely different in New York regarding the COVID requirements. So like I could do a walking tour over there and it wouldn't be the end of the world per se.
Right.
And started doing that on Saturdays and Sundays. I remember I made $40 and I was so happy that I made $40 because I didn't charge anything for it. I was on the give me a Google review and a high five and $1 if you felt I deserved it. That was like my first 3 months of operating. And we've blown up since. And I quit my real job in February.
Right. After you saw the enough take up. And it sounds like how much you enjoyed it too, that you really wanted to make it work.
Amen.
Well, how were you finding your first customers?
I was able, and this is what I tell people, when you don't have a marketing budget, you have to depend on the kindness of others to broadcast your message. And I did some stuff in the Army. I had a veteran network, that whole combat veteran world. I leaned on what I knew. I leaned on who I met, but I was able to really work hard in the Chamber of Commerce. I shook hands, kissed every baby I could to increase the likelihood of giving the opportunity. And to be honest with you, I didn't charge anything. Like this was just like a proof of concept phase. So do me the favor, tell me what you think. Give me your feedback. And what started out as just me on the weekends. Now we have 5 tours a day, 7 days a week in the on season. And we're veteran owned, operated, and now majority staffed. We used to be fully staffed. We have some great rock stars I just had to hire. And now we're doing pretty good. All based on those learnings I made.
Yes.
And the mistakes I made when I started this thing.
And at what point did you decide that you were in a position to start charging? What was going on in the company or in
great
your
question.
head?
I'm going to interpret that question as when did I feel like the proof of concept was validated?
Okay.
And that's when I had people come back and they brought, hey, we're back in Nashville again. I brought these people with me. I had to take your core again and have them see it. And I don't think repeat customers is a thing in our industry. And it's really not. And I was seeing that. Started this thing was just me shaking hands, kissing babies on the grind.
Okay, so many questions out of that. When you describe Nashville Adventures, you listed a whole heap of things that you offered. So how did that happen? Because at one point it's just you doing these tours first for free. Now you're charging. How did you go from there?
So when I started this thing, I was really trying to figure out how my competitors were. When I started, like, people telling me, like, Paul, you're really good at this thing. I just like, is that only comparatively because I'm that good, or is everyone that bad? So I did, and that's honest. So I went on every tour I could, and I noticed where there was gaps. I'll be honest with you, I felt like the Nashville scene on ghost tours there was an opportunity to excel there.
Okay.
So we started doing ghost tours, and I am not the best ghost tour person. I'm really good at it. I'm just not the best. We hired the best. So boom, that's another double revenue stream. Notice the pub crawls. I noticed there was a pub crawls in Nashville. For those who don't know, maybe you don't know this, Miss Joan, but Nashville is the bachelorette party headquarters of the world.
I did not know that.
There's more bachelorettes. Oh yeah, and it's, unless you're here, maybe it's not common knowledge, but we have 30 to 40 bachelorette party groups per hour on Broadway, and just a night in
that's
July
insane.
and August.
Yeah,
it's a problem. I'm not gonna lie to you. That's a whole other thing. But I noticed there was a gap in historically based pub crawls that are not excuses to get drunk, but maybe an opportunity to learn why this drink is called Tennessee whiskey, how Nashville played a variable in that equation for the whole culture of alcohol, which, believe it or not, is a foundational pillar of this country. George Washington brewed alcohol. I mean, like, there is a whole reality there, distilled alcohol, I should say. And there's a whole reality there that is kind of lost, and Nashville has a hand in that story and that foundational pillar. So we created that. There was a gap in Civil War private tours, and really it wasn't, where could we exploit the gaps? Because I started thinking, if we can do things quick, fast, and in a hurry at a high standard on where there are gaps, we're going to sell. And that has proved so far accurate.
I love the way that you expanded and diversified by that. And we'll continue with the business track in a minute, but a little detour here. So many people in your position, they're working, say, for Amazon or whatever, and thinking, I want to start a side hustle. And they do something that, say, the tours, and they're making that $40 at the first time, maybe couple $100 a day. And they're thinking, this is pretty cool. And it ends there. They might be doing it every Saturday. What gave you the idea that you could really scale this thing to the point where you could quit and hire other people?
Great question. This sounds so dumb, so forgive me saying it. There is a vision component to this. I envisioned this thing reaching this point. Second thing is, there was an understanding that I knew how to do this well because I have played in so many diverse arenas before this. The experiences you have before you create a business are experiences that, if you utilize that information well and interpret things and engage and get more informed, can efficiently ensure you launch well. Army gave me the gift that the worst days of my life already happened. That's a weird thing to say, but I interpret that as that. And that is a gift in itself. The United States Peace Corps taught me that I can make a team when there's no teams there. They dropped me in a village in rural Armenia. They said, go forth, do great things. And I made a team. I did all that. I would argue, Ms. Joan, that the Peace Corps is one of the greatest entrepreneurial laboratories that exists in the world. And most people don't realize that. No budget, no team, create it, find out, test, wash, rinse, repeat. I mean,
for those people who live outside of the U.S., what is the Peace Corps?
The Peace Corps is a humanitarian endeavor of the United States, started in 1963 by Sergeant Shiver. He was not a military person. His actual first name was Sergeant, under the Kennedy administration, to bring warm and fuzzy feelings of America to other places by endeavoring and ensuring that the local population has tools to succeed as they define it. So oftentimes a country will request English teachers. The U.S. Peace Corps will provide English teachers from actual Americans. Will go there and teach classes there. Capacity building, especially environmental things like that. We'll have a lot of recent graduates who are environmental scientists, go to different places and enable the local population to, as they define it, improve at whatever they want to.
So when you say as they define it, you're referring to the village or the community as they define what their needs are. Okay.
The various ministries of state and things of that nature.
Got it. So you've got all these ideas above and beyond just the single tour. So you, out of necessity, have to hire. How do you replicate your success? Like, how do you ensure that quality, that enthusiasm that you clearly have for it? How do you ensure that in others?
I'll be honest, I think we cheated. And I think this is a hack that worked really well for us. When I started out, I wanted to hire people that I knew I could get along with very, very quickly. And there is one unique thing. It doesn't matter where you're from or what box you check on the census. If you were in the military, more than likely I can get along with you quickly. So I went on this whole spiel. Like, I hired vets, people who are like me and who loved history, who can look people in the eye, which is a skill that is decreasing, I would argue. And I had a group of people that when we were together, we were walking HR nightmares, but we gave great tours when it was just us. And so that's how I started this. Okay. And that was my hack. It maybe not be the coolest thing to say. But
well, there's an element of commonality there. Like, you've got that bond already, even if you haven't met them before, because you've got that shared background. So you can understand each other and talk about, for example, your very first tours, how that started, and they could totally relate to that.
Amen. And I tell you, it's what I look for is most tour companies will like, where's my master's in public history? Well, to be honest with you, those folks are, and I've tried to hire, I've looked at those folks. Yeah. Our whole shtick is we're the history nerds you want to have a beer with. You don't want to have a beer with your seventh grade librarian who's telling you about the Dewey Decimal System. Like, that is, I hate to say it, that's just reality.
I've been on one of those tours, Paul. That's why. Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I'm talking about.
Absolutely.
That's excellent.
Yeah.
So we hire to that. And if I can find that energy and a passion, we can train someone to get a base historical knowledge. And then we have platforms in place where we can incentivize people to learn on their own to enhance their tours. Every tour is different. We don't do scripts. We give a baseline understanding. And then if you're a military veteran who's a musician on Broadway, this is, let's lean on 1980s and 1990s country, something that an expert in, and have the history be enhanced by that. For me, I'm a Civil War guy. So like, I'm going to throw a lot of things about that. And that's a differentiation point that's special. And that's the standard we ensure that is always there.
So would it be that single person then that always does that specific tour? Because when you're writing copy for it, it's going to reflect them by the sounds of it.
So generally, we have an expert who's a specific thing. So we have, if Connie is the world's best person when it comes to dealing with very intoxicated people, and she knows everything about alcohol. And also when I have guests who are ladies, that is not my time to shine telling a lady to stop drinking. Like, I'm a Southern man. I'm not like, ma'am, can you mind? Maybe not. Like, I'm a Southern boy. That don't work too well. But Connie can do that better than anybody. Cody was an actual like historian for a brewery and distillery. So there ain't no one who knows more about liquor than him. And so we have experts who focus on a certain thing, but we'll have 3 or 4 people for example, a 10 o'clock history tour. We got 3 or 4 people who are capable of doing that. And I would bet every single tour done is different because we connect with someone. So we're going to be able to make those connections while drawing emphasis on the things that connect directly with that guide.
Got it.
Guide's on Broadway. He's going to tell about the first time he played over there and how that connects to Ernest Tubb. Things like that.
Right. Yeah. So the copy that you write to describe the tour is going to be pretty generic in the sense. And then whoever the tour guide is, they're going to add their own stories and unique flavor to it.
Amen. And
yeah. Okay.
Joan, that's been a huge challenge, is us to educate people about our differentiation point. And that's been, that is a unique challenge in itself.
Yes. Okay. There was a company that I worked for many years that sent us literally all around the globe presenting these seminars. And basically what they gave us was the core content. You need to hit these bullet points because that's what we've promised the audience. But over and above that, infuse your own stories and experience and expertise into it to make the material really come alive. And it sounds like something very similar here.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. What's one of your most profitable tours or aspects of your offerings?
Let's see, beyond the corporate and private events. Corporate and private events that is a giant revenue bringer, but that's a different metric. When it comes to ticketed sales, pound for pound, probably our 10 o'clock history tour. That has been what we started at, and that's where we dominate at. In terms of margin, though, that is definitely our Civil War private tours by far.
Private tours. So that's somebody calling up and saying, I have this function of 10 people or 50 people or whatever it is, and we want to hire you to do this?
Oftentimes it's families.
Okay.
And so, yeah, and we have a wizard we have set up. People they check the certain things they want to do, and and that's where the add-ons become really heavy. By the way, I'm giving away all the tourism secrets on your podcast here today. But, like you can throw all the add-ons on there, and that can really accumulate if they want to have a reservation at a historical luncheon or a historical building that serves lunch. We can provide all those things, and that can really add up. It's not something I like to do. I don't think anyone, maybe the reluctance to do it also increase the likelihood of it doing well in that capacity. But upselling is an art form,
okay,
and it's really hard to do well. But I think our reluctance, and I even tell people when I'm doing it, I don't want to upsell you here, but if you want to do X, Y, Z, we can do that. Just whatever you want. And that works very well. I have seen a $400 tour go to $2,000 and a phone call just because they're like, you know what, I think we could benefit. Let's take the whole roof of a honky tonk. And you're just like, all right, you want it, you got it. Let me make a phone call. And then I send that invoice over, and it just blows my mind. And that's happened a couple times.
Okay. So that's an example of an add-on. There might have been, I don't know, 20 people or something, and that the venue fits 35, or so then you'll make this suggestion, just rent the whole place.
Believe it or not, that was a family of 6, Joan. That was a family of 6. They wanted the whole honky tonk to themselves. These were some VIP people.
Right. Yeah.
But they didn't grow up like I did. They lived it. Those silver spoons were available in use.
And you mentioned a historic luncheon at the facility. So the luncheon might cost you $15 or something, and then you would charge $20 a head.
Oh yeah, we're definitely going to play that game. Absolutely. But also, at least maybe in our area, you can rent a room, and it's on the expectations that you meet a certain numerical value of food and alcohol consumed.
Right.
So you're not paying necessarily for the room. You're paying for the food, and they're just giving you that space on the expectations you're going to meet or surpass that numerical value. And God bless alcohol. Alcohol can bring that number up really quick. And so, like, oftentimes you have to, like, hey, I know this is what you want. I got to reach this numerical value. And they're like, I'll throw a bottle or two on there. And so that's when you really can have a little bit of fun and be like, all right, so y'all are from here. The guy who is the head distiller here is from that same area. And you know what? He's at the distillery over here. Just because you bought this bottle, he's going to come over and say hello to you. And when you can provide that experience, you are just the apex of excellence in that family or person's eye. And that's
absolutely,
that's the best drug in the world right there. When that guy looks at it and you go, how did you do this?
Mm-hmm.
And there's like that. This is the best tour I've ever been on. When you have a 7-year-old or a 14-year-old, especially a teenager say this was amazing, because teenagers are hard sells.
Right.
Like those are the 3 this is why I'm here. This is it right here.
Going back to the distillery example, because I want to understand this from a business owner's perspective. Mm-hmm. So this is like a tasting tour that you would be bringing them in for?
We do that for our pub crawls. We do that.
Okay.
But distilleries are unique. And to be honest with you, it's not easy being a distillery right now in any way, shape, or form.
Yep.
For anyone who doesn't know, I think you have to be a little bit insane to start a distillery. You got to have the retail space. It takes at least 5 years to get your barrels ready to go. And then you hope to make a profit. And you got to hire actual scientists and the FDA requirements. And it's just, it'd be crazy to do that. So with that, I know that up front. Mm-hmm. So when I have conversations with these folks, and it's not, I don't go there like I want special pricing. I go there because I want to learn. I'm that much of a history guy. I want to tell me about this. And that has led to so many opportunities. And that has been great. So we have a number of partnerships in Nashville with distilleries. There's 3 or 4 that we hit up all the time. And we make sure we take care of them on the backside. People aren't really drinking like they used to now, especially Gen Zers. And so like anytime we can show them some love, they will reciprocate.
But from a sort of a business model standpoint, how does that work? You're not renting the venue. How does that work?
Distilleries will have tastings, like,
Okay.
of course. And so they'll have a location. Let's go with Big Machine Distillery. They do tastings on the hour. They're at a really good price. So we'll go there, and oftentimes I'll get a call like a week beforehand. It's like, I got 30 people. I'll bring them in for that tasting room, and they'll just occupy that spot. Other times there'll be you have a little certain clientele who want to have a whole branded bottle. Here's an example of that. Like it's faded, but it has like, you get these bottles that are custom made. And a lot of people want to have that business's logo or something on it. So
Which is part of the upsell that you were talking about earlier.
Amen. You'll be able to provide that opportunity. And that's been really unique. I tell you, the connections you make, especially if you're smart enough to know when you're young, dumb, and not threatening, can pay dividends as you grow as a business.
Yes. So in that distillery example, basically you've got two ways you could approach it. You could be just reserving X number of seats for the actual tasting if you've got 5 people or 10 people or something like that, right? As part of your tour. Or if you've got a large enough group, you can rent the whole place for that testing. Is that or tasting?
Yeah.
And okay.
And the whole location itself. Like when we do corporate and private events, sometimes I'll book the whole building, and that's the relationship comes in handy. If you, especially as a business owner, if you can make a phone call and they answer, and there'll be times where you're like, can you do me this favor? And they honor it. You have to make sure that they know they're appreciated and that it's going to come back to them. Business is reciprocity. You have to engage. You have to remember who take care of you, because nothing spreads quicker, especially in distillery circles, is when someone screws someone over. Like that is.
Yeah. No. You mentioned basically 2 major components of your business, one being the private, personal, and corporate events, and then the tours. As far as the events, what sort of margins are you pushing to try to nail there?
Great question. When I started this, I didn't know how good my margins can be.
Okay.
I was not aware of what I don't want to say could get away with, but what was the industry standard. Yeah. And I'll do this, and you nailed it perfectly. It's not B2B, it's not B2C, it's private versus public in my world. Okay. You're 100% right. So you well done on that. About 34% margins right now is for what I had for 2025. And I'd love to get to 40. The great thing about tourism.
Is that for the personal and corporate events, or is that for the ticketed single tours?
Oh, excuse me. I did that for the entire
thing. Okay. All right.
Sorry. Generally, it depends on the group. If they're a nonprofit or a church, I'll be honest with you, I'm fine breaking even. But especially if they're willing to give us Google reviews and things like that.
Right.
But generally, I'm rocking about 25 to 40% depending. The private and corporate events are going to have a little bit of sexier margins as compared to your scale ticketed sales, of course.
Yes. Okay. In terms of your costs then, as far as the ticketed tours, essentially it's going to be whatever booking platforms that you use and the person that you're hiring. Is that about it?
Basically, and I would say it's even less than that, because most of the booking platforms, and at least for tour operation space, that's Fair Harbor, that's Boken, there's a few others, they charge the customer as a service fee. I don't. So you add that to the ticketed price, you'll see like a service fee of $1.50 or $1. And that's how so that is not something I pay for. I don't eat that. So with that, when I started this, because I had no money, I relied on others to market for us. In tourism space, that means OTAs, online travel agencies, TripAdvisor, Viator, Get Your Guide, Tours by Foot, Tours by Locals, those entities right there. They don't charge you anything on the front end. They just take a massive commission on the back end.
Okay.
So no money up front, but decreased money on the output. That's how we operate. And I still live on the Viator, TripAdvisor space, Airbnb experiences, all those things like that.
I was going to say, somebody like a TripAdvisor, what percentage do they keep?
Depends. They have something called the accelerator. You can go from 30 to 50%.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And the higher you go on the scale, the more impressions you get. More impressions equals conversions. Conversions mean sales. So there's an incentive if you're trying to scale your product to move that slider all the way to 50%, but you're not going to make much.
Okay. So that's something that somebody starting out might do just to be able to get the people through the door and potentially the reviews from that.
Nailed it, Joan. That's the game.
Okay.
Because the whole, like the what anyone who wants to start a business, especially in service, the goal is legitimization. You ought to be perceived as legitimate, not just in the eyes of John Q, possible customer, but the Googles. The SEO game is a requirement. The best way, easiest way with no money to increase the likelihood of the Google algorithm viewing you favorably is Google reviews. As long as you're on Google Maps, you have a Google My Business, and you're all good on that. If you increase your Google reviews, you will rank locally.
Right.
So John Q. Plumber, all these organizations, you're in a unique field because you're not paying generally for a retail space.
Right.
You're not paying for any of that. You can ride the edge and not necessarily make much money. I would tell people, if you want a great year-long expectation of money, be willing to not make money for 3 months with the whole goal of you building 300 to 500 Google reviews. Because then you're not just a hobby business. Google views you as a wild success,
Right.
even if it is still a hobby business. So that's like a real life hack there is embrace the grind when you start.
A good motto there.
Embrace it and beg for the reviews. Have
Yes.
mechanisms that they can do it quickly. And when you start it, you do it. Grind yourself. When you become the expert, you can teach others. And the
Right.
best way to become an expert is to do it yourself. At least for a couple of months.
So you mentioned the importance of Google reviews. Are the TripAdvisor reviews at all related, or that's just a completely different silo?
Oh, it's a different silo, but the same level of importance.
Okay.
The ideal state for anybody is to sell organically through your website. You don't pay a commission if people find you as number one when they Google something. Like that's the ideal state, but that takes time.
Yeah.
That ain't easy, especially if you're in a saturated market where the cost per click is very high. That is true. However, just like the Google reviews on the Viator TripAdvisor side of life, the more reviews you have, especially that are positive, increases your impression rate. Impressions lead to conversions, which leads to money in your pocket.
And do you have the opportunity to pay for ads on platforms like TripAdvisor or no?
That's the slider. If you remember,
That's
I was
the
telling you
slider,
about they have
yes.
a 20 to 50% commission rate.
Yes.
The more you move to the right, it's their version of Google Ads.
Okay.
The more commission you pay, the more impressions they artificially send out to others that are not based on merit, but what you pay.
Okay. So if you're feeling that you're not getting enough exposure for them, you'd go back in there and move that needle a little bit. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Okay.
Amen. And it's tough because it's not easy because they love the 7-day operation, the OTAs, that is, online travel organizations and agencies. They
Okay.
love the 7-day schedule. They love a guaranteed legitimacy of existence. There's a lot of, when you have this low threshold to get in this industry, people go in on Tuesday, they're gone by Sunday. At least it feels that way.
Yeah.
So they favor the guarantee of a company that's been around for a couple of years. So you have to fight a lot. And
To get
yeah,
there.
you're absolutely right. You got to lose money to make money for a bit.
And like you said, really work at it. And I'm glad you mentioned that because so often you see these ads in social media that make it look so easy, like success
You're
overnight.
100% right.
And it doesn't work that way. What you don't see is all those
Nope.
months and years that went into it in the back end.
I tell you, and that's a problem. That social media and that YouTube, e-commerce. I started a drop ship site, and I'm a millionaire on by 4 p.m. that day. That is,
Yep.
I'll be honest, that's entrepreneurial cancer.
Yeah.
And no one should be viewing that and expecting that to be your reality. And that shouldn't even be allowed on my hot take. That shouldn't even be allowed on YouTube.
I think I'm going to use that as a short or a reel because that's people need to hear that.
You're more than welcome. It's true.
Well, Paul, I trust you've considered expanding into other cities or no?
Get out of my head, Miss Joan. Absolutely. We're looking at Chattanooga. How did you know? We didn't even talk about that.
Okay.
Nailed it. Yeah, we're looking at Chattanooga. Maybe as a soft launch this summer, but probably next year.
Okay. How far is that from Nashville?
It's about an hour if you don't mind driving 70. It's about an hour and a half if you drive safe. But yeah, that is a
Or 45 minutes if
Chattanooga.
you're in a real rough. Yeah.
Yeah, if you're in a Lamborghini and don't mind speeding tickets.
Yeah.
But Chattanooga is a lot what Asheville was 15 years ago.
Okay.
So I think that's the next big hurrah is going to be Chattanooga. It's already growingly becoming a conference and convention space.
And it seems close enough that that's something that you can manage from where you are, that you don't need somebody on the ground
Nailed it.
necessarily. Okay.
I'm so paranoid about oversight and continuity of standard.
Yeah.
So I like to have, that's why I'm not looking at Louisville, not looking at New Orleans, not looking at Memphis. That's why Chattanooga seems ideal.
What do you think is the skill set for someone to do well in this business?
3 things: a foundational understanding of history, first and foremost, the ability to speak well publicly, and last is a business understanding. I mentioned earlier, every job taught me something. When I was a parliamentary fellow, I was in rooms with people who made hella great decisions. I met David Cameron, I met all these important people. And when I was in these rooms, I learned that they're just as much of an idiot like I am. There is no special sauce that would ensure that other people would not be allowed in that room. Every one of us is equally dumb and or smart. There is just different degrees of us faking to make it, if that's be completely honest with you. Parliament taught me that. Amazon was my MBA. I learned how to play with budgets, numbers, timetables, and stakeholders at Amazon. So if you don't have that foundational understanding of business, which isn't done necessarily by an MBA, that is just grinding and learning and observing and taking time to educate yourself, you can succeed. But history, public speaking, and business.
Have you ever had a mentor?
Yeah, of course. Of course. Yeah, I went to the Citadel, which is, I don't know if you have the Citadel is a military academy. It's a drinking school of the military problem, as we like to say. But it's got a little bit of a cult to it. And there's a great tour provider who's a graduate from my university, obviously a couple years before I did. And he's been a great mentor to me. And
nice.
That's when you got to have a mentor in your niche. For me, it's tour operation, a mentor in your city that can connect you to people, and a mentor in your area of influence you want to move into. You got to have at least 3.
I like that, because when you were talking about looking at really growing this, oftentimes there's some outside influence of somebody that you've connected with that pushes you along to say, hey, you can do this, or at least gives you, they see more in you than maybe that you do in yourself. And it heightens your confidence and allows you to dream those dreams. Amen. Okay. That's so cool. There was another short and reel in there that you just dropped there. So
I'm on a roll.
You are. You might have already answered this, but what advice would you give someone wanting to start to become a tour guide or set up a tour operation as a side hustle?
Get in the Chamber of Commerce and your local tourism bureau and realize this is a gym. You're not going to bench 350, walk into a gym once. You're going to bench 350 by going every other day and sweating and grinding. That is the key to success in many ways. It's not what you know in many ways. I hate to say it. It's true, though. It's who you know. The best way to do that well is to get involved in your local chambers. Also, little fun fact for you, when you're in those chambers, they backlink your website to their directory domain. Often that is a do follow backlink, which gives you SEO juice, which increases the likelihood of you being viewed favorably by the Google algorithm and your SEO keywords that you want to rank for. It blows my mind how people aren't in their chambers and they just pay like $600 a year and they don't do anything with it. It blows my, I'll be honest with you. I love when my competitors do it. I take that back. I love it when they do that. But for everyone else, it just blows my mind.
Yeah, because when you go to those, say, breakfast meetings or luncheons, there's so many people in the room that you want to talk to, whether they are potential mentors, as you described, or in your case, businesses that you want to partner with. Perfect.
And people get their feelings hurt, Joan. They go there once and they're like, oh, no one cared. So of course, no one cared. You're nobody to them now. Like you showed up once and ate their free biscuits. Get out of here.
Right.
You got to grind. Every aspect of entrepreneurship and the side hustle is grinding. If you're not willing to put in the work, put in the miles, put in the steps, in my case, you're not going to succeed. And the great thing about the way we do things in our land, this beautiful world of ours, is that if you just show that you're willing to learn, you're humble and you're nice and you engage, other entrepreneurs and business owners will meet you at least halfway, sometimes more,
Right.
to help you. This is the only sphere that existed. Amazon people would cut each other right and left. Even Army officers would sometimes. I don't see that very much in business. And that's the one place I'd expect to see it. Entrepreneurs are very nice to other entrepreneurs.
Yeah. And especially because you can put together those win-win deals, arrangements.
Amen.
Like the distillery we were talking about. So how many employees / contractors do you have now?
Now, off season 5, on season, we're going to probably hit about 14, 15 this year.
There's so much more to ask you about. Do you do any advertising now, or are you totally focused on driving new customers through the reviews?
Great question. We start in February. Yes, we do Google ads. We do Meta ads. That all is going to kick about after Valentine's Day. But generally, we don't do much in December and January. And I couldn't believe it. We actually had tours in December. Blew my mind. Private tours and things like that. We had a corporate event in December. I don't remember that happening in 2024, but it happened in 2025.
Yeah.
So generally, December, January is when you relax, you restructure, you solidify your foundations. That way you can focus purely as operating. And for me, I still want to do 2 tours or 3 tours a week, but the reality is I'm probably not. I need to delegate, follow through, put on a different hat than my John Q tour operator hat, and be more working on the business, not for the business type stuff.
But at times you do like to jump in and do the tours yourself still.
Me and our operations manager, we have an agreement. We are going to do 2 or 3 tours a week.
Great.
Always. That's a requirement of the job.
Yes. Okay. I can see that, because you don't lose touch then of what's happening on the ground.
Nailed it.
Yeah.
Nailed it. And it's fun. It beats a real job. I've had those.
Yeah.
This is fun. Yeah.
How has AI changed your workflow or what you've done?
AI is a silent partner of Nashville Adventures.
Okay.
That is the God's honest truth. The reason why I can pay my guides so well is the consultancy that I would normally have to pay for a decade ago is a $25 subscription to ChatGPT. Give me and it's been, whether that be SLP creation as we scale, whether that be, hey, what are the gaps in the market right now? What is the latest in academia in tourism that is applicable for my business that I should know? Like literally things that I would have to pay some dude thousands of dollars for him to really say he worked 6 billable hours but did 30 minutes on a high five. That is over. ChatGPT has dominated this scene, and per all these other Claude, et cetera. It has been vital to the success of our business. And I will go as far to say that the organizations that utilize it well, that's going to be the differentiation point between failure and success. That is the God's honest truth.
So where do you see the future of this industry going then?
Ooh, great question. I'll give you my hot take. People are always, and everyone says this in tourism, and I believe this is true, nothing's going to replace the human interaction. That is true. But the era of bookkeepers, that's probably going to go away in the next year or two. I don't think people are going to do trolley tours. I mean, in my car, it's connected to AI, and I can ask it, hey, give me a driving tour, sightseeing tour of this. And it does it. It's 2026. I don't think trolley tours will be around by 2030. I believe AI is going to streamline the process where people are going to look for experiences that are unique, not for something they can just ask ChatGPT and provide instantaneously. Yeah. There are going to be tons in our market who are incapable of doing this. Okay. That is if you can, that is a differentiation point that is going to lead to your success and economic prosperity.
Got it. So if you haven't been up to speed with that, now's a good time to jump on.
Oh, I'll be honest with you.
Yeah,
that ship might have sailed for you already. It's like learning about the internet in 2002. Like that ship sailed.
What's a trolley tour?
Oh, a trolley tour is where you get on these big buses and a guy does a script and goes, on your left, you see this. On your right, you see that. And it is a great way to orient yourself into a city. It's easily replicable. It's scalable. If you have strong upfront budgets, you can justify it and live to have a great ROI after it pays for itself in about a year. But yeah, that's what a trolley tour is. I do not think they're going to exist like they did in 5-6 years or like they are now.
Well, speaking of challenges, what would be the biggest challenge that you face in this business?
Oh, that's the biggest challenge I faced so far is knowing when to pull the trigger on things. I'm very trusting of people sometimes, and that can sometimes bite me in the tail. I've had one or two incidences where I should have trusted but verified on a few things. Just because things are going well.
You're referring to an like employer or contractor?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, okay,
Absolutely.
yeah, okay.
Absolutely. And I've also do not, if things are going well, just know you are one choice or decision from failure. And oftentimes the ones who can make that failure decision ain't you. If one employee goes over and runs a red light with a tour group and they get run over, you're done. That's it. That's the end of it. Like things like that. So never get too comfortable. I only know this because I've observed others have a circumstance like that happen in their business. And always be thankful, appreciative, follow through the standard, wash, rinse, repeat. Do not stagnate. Do not tread water. Always move.
And by the sounds of it too, one of your expenses then is insurance.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah. But the word of mouth of that, when a sightseeing bus runs over somebody, which is not something people talk about in tourism, but
Yeah.
it happens.
Yeah.
I mean, like there's humans walking. You got this big thing moving. That happens.
Yeah.
That word of mouth will destroy your business no matter if your insurance claim gets handled.
Got it. So what's the best way for our listeners to connect with you, Paul?
Ooh, my favorite question of them all, Miss Joan. You can find us at naturaladventures.com. If you pretty much go on your search bar and look up Natural Adventures, you'll find us. We worked hard enough on SEO to provide that. We're on the LinkedIns, we're on the TikToks, we're on the Instagrams, we're on the Facebooks, we're on the worldwide interwebs. You'll find us all, Nashville Adventures.
Now, is that an area of expertise for you? Is all that social media, or is that hired out as well?
Oh, yeah. That is another mass differentiation point, is the ability to not have that outside market and outside depend on other folks for your SEO. Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So you're doing your own social media?
Oh, social media? Well, in-house we are. We have the army of the world's greatest interns who help me with that. I am way too much of an old millennial to get with these young Gen Zers and their 6-7s. Like I'm just not capable of that, but I'm good on the SEO. I personally handle my SEO.
Oh, okay. And what do you mean by interns in your case?
So our whole shtick is we give 1% back. So when I first started, that was 1% of revenue to veterans nonprofit. That was Operation Stand Down here in Nashville. But that term has evolved in the last couple of years. Now we give 1% back still, but that manifests itself in giving scholarships to our rockstar interns. Our interns are paid, but one or two of them will get a scholarship from us. And that 1% is part of that. So we are at the local high school. It's about 5 minutes of here. I don't think McGavick High, I'll say it. McGavick High, we are over there. We hire interns over there and they work with me. They don't work with our ops guy. They don't make us coffee. Telling our intern, I want 6 videos, give me some layouts, give me some ideas, have fun, and work virtual for 2 or 3 hours to do it. And I would have killed for that gig when I wasn't younger, but
yeah, because they would be 16, 17 years old.
Yeah. This guy's 17. He's starting school in August. He's super pumped. He's a smart kid. And I love it. What I view those interns, if they have energy and that rubs off on our staff, that is worth $15 an hour. Just that.
Yeah. That's a great idea. Note to self. Well, that's another tip, but that might be a best tip. I was going to ask you, what's your best tip to inspire others to start and grow their side hustle dream?
Let's see. Find your passions. And I tell you, you read all these books about passion and how important that is. And I remember hearing that and I remember thinking, that's so dumb. My passion is making money. Well, the reality is when you side hustle and you endeavor to legitimize your side hustle into your real job, if you're passionate about it, that'll keep you going when you ain't making no money.
Right. Yeah.
When you're like in 4 months of in the red, what'll keep you going is if you're passionate about it. And it don't matter if you're passionate about lawnmower engines. We have a guy do our lawn mowing over here. This guy makes a ton of money mowing our lawns, and it's his business. He has a truck. He goes over here, and if you talk to him about his lawnmower, you're stuck in a vortex of 45 minutes hearing about his lawn mowing engines. And that's your shtick. He loves it. I love the guy. That's his passion. Yeah. Whatever your passion is, know that is not a warm and fuzzy thing. The business books tell you it keeps you going when you ain't making money yet. And that's the secret of honing in on passion.
Got it. And it's so contagious.
Yes, ma'am.
Like your enthusiasm for the tour business.
Yes, ma'am.
Right? So thank you so much, Paul, for that enthusiasm and education and insights into the tour business, but really running a business in general and giving us that insider's look at the tour business. And congratulations on all your successes with Nashville Adventures. And of course, thank you for being today's Side Hustle hero.
Miss Joan, you've made my day. I appreciate you. Thanks for having me.
Whether your goal is to keep your side hustle as a strong income stream, or you're thinking about one day turning it into your full-time business, think about how you can apply the lessons from Paul to whatever industry you're in. For example, what additional products or services could you offer that naturally align with what you already do? What partnerships could you build that would expand your customer base and create wins for everyone? And are you staying connected to the part of your work that lights you up, the way Paul still gets out there and leads tours himself? If not, what can you do to fix that? Whatever your key takeaway is from this episode, I'd love to hear about it. Well, that's a wrap for today. If our chats are sparking your entrepreneurial spirit and providing valuable insights, consider showing your support by visiting sidehustlehero.com/support. That's where you can shoot me a virtual coffee. It's a real thing and a fun way to give the show a caffeinated thumbs up. Thank you so much. In the episode description, you'll find a link to Paul's Nashville Adventures website, as well as our full show notes, which live at our website, sidehustlehero.com. While there, be sure to grab a copy of my 28-page guide called Smart Start, From Idea to It's Live in 7 Steps, a beginner's guide to launching your side hustle with confidence. It's free for now, but not forever, at sidehustlehero.com. If you're enjoying what you're seeing in this podcast, it would be so appreciated if you would take a moment to add your comment, share the episode, and please subscribe. It'll let others know that there's valuable content here to help them start and grow their side hustle. Thanks for watching, and hustle on.